Hey everyone, I'm Amanda from creationsbylittle1.co.uk. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up in the UK and I'm based in Northern Ireland. Today I'm going to take you through a project that I think completely demonstrates how much Stampin' Up products coordinate with each other. From the ribbon to the ink to the cardstock. So I'm going to show you a little project that incorporates a little bit of all of it, and I'm going to use our 2020-2022 in colours. So every year Stampin' Up launch 5 in colours, and they stay in for 2 years. So these are the ones that are current, and they're not going to run out until next year. So what we have is a project which is so cute. We've got 3 already made, so these are 3 of the 5 colours. So we've got Magenta Madness, Misty Moonlight and Cinnamon Cider. And as you can see, we've got some of the cardstock in here, we've got some of the ribbon, we've used some of the ink, and some of the designer series paper as well, and everything is exactly the same colour. So although there's different types of product, they are all exactly the same. So this is one of the things I loved about Stampin' Up when I first discovered them on YouTube. Everything just coordinated perfectly, and it takes all the thinking and the worrying about trying to match things up out of the equation. So what we're going to do is, if I just show you the rest of the colours, so these are our inks with the in colours at the moment. So Misty Moonlight, Magenta Madness, Cinnamon Cider, Bumblebee and Just Jade. So we're going to make the other 2 to match and give us a full set of 5. So I've done a little bit of the work, so I'll pop these out of the way. So what I've done is I've started off with a card blank. So I like, when I'm making smaller cards, to have them that they're more like stand like a tent rather than closing at the side. I'm not quite sure why, I just think it looks really stunning standing up like that. So what I've done is, to get this card base, is I've taken a sheet of A4 long ways, and it's pretty much just cut in half down the length. So what you can do is measure this. I'm a centimetres girl. I do operate in both because a lot of other demonstrators work in inches, but the measurements just I have for this one today are in centimetres. I will try my best to work them out in inches and put them in the instructions down below. But basically the card base is 10.5 centimetres wide, and then when it's folded over, it's creased at 15 centimetres. So you have 10.5 by 15 centimetres altogether. So that's our card base that we're going to work with today. And then one of the first pieces that we're going to work with is just the base that goes underneath everything. So us crafters are super frugal. You know, we love to get as much as we can out of our products. So what I'm going to do is, if I bring one of these in just to show what I'm talking about. So on the main project, we've got this mat here that is a sheet of the colour. Now we're going to have a circle that's in the same colour, but we've also got a lot of this that's covered up. So what I tend to do is, this is technically called gutting the card, and it's just a case of any pieces that you need that are not going to be seen behind other layers. You can take this out of here. So I just cut this with a circle die, and no one's going to see that because the white and the designer series paper are going to be on top of it. So you just have to be careful when you're placing your die. You don't put it too near the edge that's going to stick out, but we were well centered, and that gives us a bit of colour that we need on the front, but without having to cut into another piece of card. So very economical. And I love doing that, and it's a little secret as well. No one knows that you've taken that little chunk out of it. So that's already done for the Bumblebee. So we're going to do it with the Just Jade one, just so that we have that all set. So I am just going to do this to the side. I have everything set up, but there's not enough space height wise just to put my die cutting machine in camera. And we do now have the Stampin' Up own version of it. So we do, there is a standard size and a mini. The mini is so cute. and these circles would go through the mini machine. I just haven't christened my plates yet, they're still in the plastic wrap. The first cut is always the hardest with a new die cutting machine or new plates. So it is always the hardest. It breaks your heart, and then after that it's absolutely fine. So that's our circle cut out for our Just Jade. And these circles that I've used for the little kind of mat to give this a lift on here, this is from our layering circles dies. So there's 16 dies in this all together, so they all kind of mat and layer in amongst each other. So they're straight edged and they're scalloped, and this is from one of the straight edge dies. Super handy to have, very versatile. All your kind of basic shapes are good to have. So now that we've got that cut, we'll get them onto our bases. So I think I've mentioned before, I am a wet glue girl. Tape is very handy and is very quick, and so are the kind of adhesives in the dispenser, but I like wiggle room. I like time just to line everything up. So I'm going to put the bit that I've cut out towards the top, because that's going to be underneath cardstock, whereas if I put it down towards the bottom, it's going to be paper going on top of that. I'm just trying to leave an even border kind of all the way around. So this little piece of card was cut at 10 centimeters by 14 and a half. Again, I'll put all the measurements down below in the instructions underneath the video. So that's on here. Let's get the wee bumblebee one done. So yes, if we put that underneath the paper from Stampin' Up is nice and thick. You can tell I'm getting towards the end of this little bottle of glue. Have to give it a good squeeze. But if it was underneath the paper, there is a slight chance that because the paper is a little bit thinner, you would see the indent of the cutout underneath the paper. Now, it's not very often that happens, because the paper from Stampin' Up is really good thickness, but I think if you've got a bit of card and a bit of paper, pop it underneath the card piece, and then it just makes sure that it's not going to show through. So that is our first few layers on. So our next bit is our cute little zebra. So with this one, what I've done is, so I've already got one cut and already stamped. So this one is going to be cut with a circle die from our Stitch Shapes. So this comes with 4 sizes of ovals, squares and circles. So what they do is they cut a flat edge, but then they make this little stitch detail here, which is just, it is such a simple detail, but it really makes such a difference. So it does. So I'm using the second largest from the circles for this one. So what I'm going to do is, there's 2 ways you could do this. You could either stamp your zebra and then cut it out, and you know then you're definitely going to get it in the right spot. But because I'm using a scrap of card, there's a chance wherever I stamp it, then there's not enough room for the die. So in this occasion, I'm going to cut my circle first, and then I'm going to use our stamping platform to line up the stamp before I stamp it. So let me get the circle cut quickly through the die cutting machine, and then I'll show you what I mean by using the stamping platform. So either way works, there are no rules, but just because I'm trying to use up scraps, because again, we're so frugal us crafters, this just kind of makes sure that I'm not going to waste this by getting the alignment wrong in that scrap. So that is us cut out first time, and all the little marks are already in there. So I'm just going to bring in our stamparatus. So this is our stamping platform, and I've already got this all set up. So because I was doing a little batch of these, you can tell that I've already been doing some projects with another stamp set. This is our peony, if you can make that out. But just because that's stamped on doesn't mean you can't continue to use it. It's just whenever it starts warping from having too much ink on it, I would really change it out. So what I did was, because I already have my stamp set up, I have made a little template, if you can see this circle here. and that just shows me where to place the item that I'm going to stamp onto. Now, what I also did, because there's not much space between what's being stamped, the zebra takes up quite a bit of space on here. What I also did is I made 2 little lines, which just shows the best place to stick the magnet, so it's not in the way of the stamp. So it just means if you're doing a lot of these, then it's super quick to set up and you're not having to constantly move the stamp. So what I did originally was just set down my circle, and then these come off, and set it all up, lined it up, and then came over and picked up the stamp on the platform. So now everything's all lined up. For this, the zebra, although it's not a huge stamp, there's still quite a bit of detail in it. So I just like the fact that if I miss a bit with the ink, the Stamparatus lets me go back and stamp in exactly the same place again. And also my Memento ink is running out as well. So initially I was going to stamp the zebra in the same colour as the main card, but then we were going to have a green zebra, a yellow zebra, and I just was like, I'm not sure that that's going to work. So I decided just keep the zebra in black, so it's being done in Memento ink, which hopefully there's enough ink on this pad to give us a nice clear, but if it doesn't work, then I can show you why I use the Stamparatus. So bring it over, give it a wee press, and do we have, yeah, so we see here it's just not so clear, just in the middle there, which is exactly the middle of my ink pad that's running out. So give it another wee press, and because this is held with a magnet and this is stuck to the platform here, nothing's moved, so we can go back, give it another go, and that fills out the little spaces that we missed, and we're not worrying about the alignment because everything's been kept in place. So these stamps here are red rubber stamps. We do 2 different types. With the red rubber, you can probably see here that there is like a sponge or a foam between the rubber and the back end where the sticker is. So because of that, when you have the Stamparatus, there is an extra platform that comes in with it that's got sponge on it. You need to remove that because this stamp already has that sponge or foam layer in it. The other stamps that we do are the clear see-through stamps, and they have no foam or sponge in them, and so that's why you need this to use with it, because you need just that wee bit of absorption. So you don't need it whenever you're using the red rubber stamps. So that is our zebra all stamped. And I'll clean him and tidy him up in a wee minute. So we're all good for putting that together. So what I want to do next is make this wee bit here. So this is just a double layer. So this is a little bit of Whisper White and a bit of our Designer Series paper. And so whenever there are new ink colours, they normally release 6x6 papers that come in all 5 colours. And that's what they've done with this one as well. So you can see we've got dots, and they're double-sided. So there's dots and script. So that's our blue, our Cinnamon Cider, Magenta Madness, Bumblebee, and our Just Jade. And then we've got Wood Effect and like a textile, probably is the best way to describe that, on the back of all of them as well. So it's a great pack, again, just to use up the ink colours and get used to using them, how you want to kind of put them together. So with the white bit, just so it wasn't completely plain, I didn't really want to do too much. I want to keep it nice and simple. So these would be really, really good for batch making. So what I have done is, I don't know if that can see, yes, slightly. So this has been run through a subtle embossing folder. So it just gives it a bit of texture without being too much. So super, super simple. So again, we're making use of our die cutting machine because it also embosses. So this is our subtle embossing folder, and like I say, it really is true to its name. It's very, very subtle. It just gives almost like a linen effect. So it just gives a little bit of interest, a bit of texture, without kind of taking over the rest of the card. So all we do, I have a wee bit of card here. So this is 9 centimeters by 8.5. I'm just going to run this through the machine. gives a little bit of interest, because that bit of white is quite big compared to the rest of the card, so it just means it's not completely plain and bland. So there we go, that's us all run through. So we've got one for each of those. And then we've got a bit of designer series paper. So I've already cut these because I'm sure you don't need to watch me cutting bits of paper. So I've gone with the dots and all of them. I'm going to stick with that. But you can see the wee textile on the other side of those. And this is cut at 9 centimeters by 5 centimeters. And then that's just going to go onto the bottom. So some people, again, would do white the whole size and then place the DSP on top. Again, I don't see the point in covering up a bit of white card that could be used for something else, for a sentiment or another card. So for me, I do this little trick. So you take the little piece of Whisper White and flip the paper over to the side that you don't want to be shown. And then we just need some double-sided tape. And, excuse me, I do 3 things. So line them up kind of as close to each other as possible, and I put a little bit along the middle just to hold it, and then I put 2 bits down the side, and this covers 2 things. Holds the edges together, but also to hide that little join on the front, we're going to put a bit of ribbon across that, and this will hold the ribbon. So it's doing double duty. So I'm not going to take this all the way off just for now, because I have been known to whip it all off, turn it over to put the ribbon on, and then this sticks to my sheet below. So it's best to leave the back and on for a moment. So we just line that up with the join of the card and the paper, pop it back over so it's not exposed, and then bring it across the front along the seam. Pull it tight enough that it's not loose, but not so tight that it starts warping the card. So right along over to the other side, and then over onto the tape. And that's probably a tad long, so we just tidy that up. Does anybody else have separate scissors that is just for ribbon and keeps it separate from their paper scissors? I'm very, very funny. My paper scissors are very precious, my snips, so I don't cut ribbon with them. Keep them nice and sharp. So that's the ribbon in place, and that just tidies up that seam, and also then gives us another element of the colour tying in with everything else. So now what we want to do is put our zebra onto his little layer. So let's do that. So he's going to go on flat. So there we go. And try and just leave a border of the same size the whole way around. And then what we're going to do with him is we are going to put him onto dimensional. So this is quite big, so I use our larger ones for this. Even though these are consumables and I know that we go through them again, I'm so frugal with these. Probably, technically, needed 4, but 3 is going to do the trick. As long as it just kind of is enough to hold on and that there's no sag in it, but I think that's kind of plenty. So just going to set him slightly over to the right. There we go. So that's him all layered up on there. And then, actually, while we have the glue here, let's just do our Just Jade one as well. Again, glue's coming to the end, but I know there's still some in there, so I won't give up until it gives me nothing. There we go, so that can dry. And then our next little bit is this sentiment here. So just kick up your heels. This is actually from the stamp set, which I haven't shown you because it is adorable. So this is Zany Zebras. So this is the little guy that we're using for this card, but we've got these two here, and what I will say about this little guy is you can tilt him so he looks like he's kind of up on his rear. So they are just adorable. They can be coloured in, they can be shaded in. We've got a little party hat that just sits perfectly on the top of their heads. And then we've got a couple of sentiments. So we're using up the kick your heels, and this is the little bit that we use for kind of this starburst, I suppose, coming out of the topper. But yeah, just absolutely adorable. Who wouldn't think that they are cute, I tell you. So we've got our little sentiment already stamped, and this then has been punched out, and I'll show you that in a wee second because I haven't done the one for the green yet. And then this, being a wee bit smaller, is going on to our mini dimensionals. So these are slightly smaller ones. Does anybody else just only use their dimensionals in a straight line? I can't possibly kind of just take random ones out of the middle of this. Has to be used in a line. Oh, we all have our little things, don't we? So, and get this backing off. That's nearly this little one done, so I'm just going to pop him on around the middle, and just having up and dimension just again gives it dimension. The clue's in the name of the little foam pads. And so we do want to do that wee starburst. So this is a stamp, and I've just put it onto one of the acrylic blocks just for speed. So we'll bring in our ink, and probably what we'll do is do kind of technically the middle one first. It can be hard sometimes with the little stamps just to know how hard to press. You can see on my cinnamon cider one that I did have a smudge, but sure, that helps it just look handmade, doesn't it? If it was absolutely perfect, no one would believe you'd done it yourself. So there's nothing wrong with that. So I'll pop this away before I stick a finger in the ink. There we go, and now we just need to add this to the front, and then you're going to see how the circle is completely covered. So with the strips at the back here, I do remove these before I actually glue the whole panel. Some people leave them on, but I think, especially when you're using wet glue, if you leave that backing on, it can stop the glue from drying. So I do take it off and then just glue right over the top of it, because you don't want it sticking and then stopping the wiggle room, the whole point of using the liquid glue. So let's get it all lined up, and again just leaving an even border all the way around. There we go. And that is our bumblebee one done. So let's just finish off our Just Jade. So we have done him, and we just put these two bits together. So again, just flipping it over to the back and getting the tape on there. So line it up best you can, bit across the middle. And down the side. So you can see that, you know, if you did want to do batches of these, like, you could absolutely do one of each colour and have a pack of 5, and then we have little like acetate boxes that hold about 5 cards of this size, and you could just stick a wee ribbon on it and sell that as a pack of 5 cards, all in different colours. So you could, and I've just taken all the backing off there. The one thing I said I don't do, because I tend to stick this to my table. So let's see if I can do this in the air so nothing sticks where it shouldn't. I hope it goes wrong, at least I'll be able to show you how to fix it. So let's take off the excess. There we go. Get rid of those. I think for now, because we still have a little bit to do with the front, I'm going to try and just pop that back on just till we're ready to glue, because you can guarantee I will stick it to the desk. So in the meantime, the one bit then that we do need to do for this one is our sentiment. So I just have a scrap of Whisper White, and I've got the Kick Your Heels Up stamp just again on a little block, which for anybody who's interested is size G. And so on these ones that I've done, I have done the sentiment in the ink color that the card is. The first two that I did, the Magenta Madness and the Misty Moonlight, I did it in black, and I just thought, no, only the zebra really needs to be black, so that's why on these wee ones, there we go. Not bad at all. And a good thing with doing it this way is it doesn't need to be straight, because when we're going to punch it out, we will straighten it up with the punch. So yeah, I'll show you what we're doing with that. So this is our classic label punch, and you can see on the front just the shape that that's going to give us. So the easiest thing to do, especially when you're punching out sentiments, is turn what you'd imagine the punch to be upside down. What we're going to do is just slide this in the top, and then you can see where your words are, and you can see if you're straight, which we're not. There we go. So when you're just trying to line it up, I give the stamp just a little pinch, so it's gripping a little, but enough for me to still move it around until I'm settled with where I want it to go. And then there we go. Alright, simple and easy as that. Punches are really quick for this kind of thing. So again, let's get everything up on dimensionals, because we want some dimension and a bit of interest. Our frugal 3. But yeah, as long as there's enough to hold it on and give it grip, then it's fine. It's just as long as you don't get like a soggy middle, but just where I'm supporting it, it's enough to kind of stop it from sagging. Here we go, and then we mini ones for this one. And this one gets one in the middle. And we'll get this added on. So you can see, if you have like all your layers cut, you really could have this as a production line, and they would come together so quick. So, and everything is just so coordinated. Like, it's hard to explain just how spot on the colours are between the card, the ribbon, the paper, the ink. You know, it's as if you've just used one medium for all of it. So it definitely is one of the reasons that I love Stampin' Up. Because if you didn't have that, you would be just going, is that the right green? I like Stampin' Up. We've probably got maybe 5, 6 different greens on the go at the moment. And just trying to make sure you've got the right one would just be so hard. So they definitely make life very, very easy. So, oh, and we haven't glued that. See, there we go. I'm not busy yakking. So, again, let's show you how to do that if that happens to you. So there is plenty of wiggle room, because the glue is only across the center. So there we go. That gets the top done. Won't just be as much wiggle room down here, because it's a smaller piece, but we'll get enough in there to have it glued down. There we go. And who would know? Only for the fact it's been recorded. So there we go. That is those made. So we've got our bumblebee, just jade, our cinnamon cider. And then these are the two that I was saying, Magenta Madness and Misty Moonlight, where I did the black sentiments. But you can see, I think definitely, because of the point of it being all one colour, it probably needs to be in the colour of the card. But how lovely would it be to put the 5 of those together with envelopes and into a little acetate box and put a bit of ribbon around it and gift that to somebody, and they've got 5 cards to issue out, have happy birthday on it, or just thinking of you, or thank you, just general cards that everybody needs through the year, and let them have something handy to give out. And they'd be great for kids' cards because he's adorable. Oh, just Jade, we didn't do stars. I knew he looked a bit naked. So just clean off my stars because they were yellow a moment ago. So this is our Simply Chamois. That looks horrific. It is meant to look like that. It takes off all the ink off your stamps really, really quickly. But the colour doesn't come back off again. So it's super fast for cleaning off stamps in between colours. So let's get our stars done. I knew there was something missing from him. So there we go. 1, 2. Because you know, it's very hard for me. This really is one of those ones where you need like an odd number. I think in card making you definitely need odd numbers, so 3 or 5 of something, just to help balance everything out. For me, for someone who loves to have everything in even numbers, like, you know, the volume on the TV, then having 5 of those is a bit hard, but you know, we all have our crosses to bear. But there we go. So 5 beautiful cards, fully coordinated, and how gorgeous and how quick. If you have all your dimensions and everything and have everything cut, how quick are they to put together. So there we go. That's that project for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you feel a little bit inspired. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, and subscribe to my channel while you're visiting. So I'd really, really appreciate it, because you know, we're just starting out here. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll pop a link into of my website down below, and also reach out if you have anything you need to know, or if you want to shop for items, or if you just want a bit of inspiration. So thanks very much. Until next time, I will see you all soon. Bye.